Do you ever go through life and you just go through college, and then all of a sudden you thought you wanted to do something, and then you switched paths and you totally decide you want to go into something else? Now, those of you who are on here with me right now, you might have switched paths and went into physical therapy. That might have been your go-to, I always wanted to do physical therapy, and all of a sudden now that maybe something isn't really going right with you, you change paths and you think about, should I get into physical therapy? And if I change paths into that career, is it worth it, right? So in this video, we're definitely going to be talking about those, some things, talking about if you should change careers or not, and really determine if it's worth it, So we're just going to jump right in, but before we do, I have a quick story to share. When I made the switch to become a physical therapist, I definitely went through a similar field like healthcare, helping people, service industry, and I wasn't really sure where to go. I knew I wanted to be in this direction, but I just wasn't sure where to go. And then finally, it wasn't until when I realized, hey, physical therapy, that sounds like a great career. I'm gonna start pursuing it. Let's freaking go. So in today's video, I'm going to share with you what are some things, some insights you should be aware of when you're choosing physical therapy, because these are definitely things that I wish I would have known prior to going and embarking down this path. And it would have maybe swayed some of my decisions, because I didn't realize how much tuition actually costed for physical therapy school. I didn't really understand that until I got in. So we're gonna jump right in, and that's actually the first topic that I wanted to talk about, is the PT school tuition, how much that is. So if you want to change into becoming a physical therapist, you have to go into PT school, which is you get your undergraduate degree, and then you can go and apply straight to a doctorate level degree of physical therapy. Now, PT school in general, if you're in a public in-state place, you might be able to get it at $30,000, maybe $40,000 for the entire 3 years. But for the most part, a lot of people end up taking private school tuition loans. And that could easily average up to $150,000, $110,000, $150,000 of tuition alone. Okay, so that's a pretty significant investment. If you were just trying to get into a career and you're like, wait, I gotta pay $150,000 just to start working as a career in this. Oh man. And then obviously, if you're switching career paths to try to get into PT school, now you're starting to realize, oh my gosh, there are so many things I have to do. There's so many prerequisites, requirements, GRE, letter of recommendation, etc., etc., etc. Is it really worth it? Should I really go into PT? And this is something that I get all the time. Students are very scared about the tuition, how much PT school actually costs. And they come to me and ask, Justin, is it worth it to become a physical therapist? I graduated undergrad and I'm trying to be a PT, but the thought of the tuitions is really haunting and it scares me. And what I say to those students who mention that, I tell them, you know what, even though it costs so much money, at the end of the day, you got to think about it. Are you in it for the money, or are you in it because you are embarking into a profession that will service people, will change their lives, and will impact the way that they live every single day? That's how I view physical therapy. Now, not everyone will agree with me, and a lot of students are angry because they didn't realize how much school actually costed, and then they get into this profession that they're kind of mediocre, passionate about. So they treat work like, okay, go into work, leave. Go into work, leave. It's just a paycheck. And if you're not really enthusiastic about those things, then it might be harder for you to really think about if the tuition is worth it. But to me, I think about, hey, look, I am impacting and improving people's lives here, their quality of life. You know, even though that I'm in like $140,000 in student loans, I could pay that off. I just need to work a little bit more. But of how many people that I'm impacting throughout the journey of doing that, to me, that's like, man, that's invaluable. You know, think about if you had your own mother or your own father who was in significant pain and just couldn't like walk, do daily things like sit on the toilet, go upstairs, stand around for a long time. And then you work on the skills that you learned in school, right? You work on the skills to help alleviate them and make them feel like, oh, I feel so good. And then later, some things that they've been dealing with for years, now you fix in a matter of minutes. So something to consider You know, tuition is a lot, but if you find a lot of passion and really enthusiastic about this subject, then I think physical therapy is totally worth it, in my opinion. And that really leads into what I want to talk about next is really having a passion for physical therapy. You know, you really need to be fascinated with movement. Now, doctors are like, their specialty is medicine, right? Radiographic technicians or radiographic doctors specialize in radiographic images. Physical therapists specialize in movement. So that is what we practice, that is what we preach, that is what we do in every single day of our career. So if you don't have a passion for movement, like the idea, fascinated with the idea of what movement entails, then again, you're just treating this as another job. Just clock in, clock out, make some money, go home, hate your life because you're paying student loans for the next 20 years because you're always pushing it to the back burner, you know? So, you know, if you are an athlete or maybe you're into fitness and exercise and you've been going to the gym all the time, you know, you might be interested in movement, right? If you're someone who's coached different students in different types of sports, you know, maybe you've done sports and you've gone up to the collegiate level, maybe even just done gymnastics all your life or something like that, right? Movement, exercise, the way that we actually bend and stretch and contract and really increase performance, all those things revolve around movement, kinesiology, right? So you need to have a passion for this type of subject. And if you don't, then, you know, maybe it's not worth it because your time is so much more valuable and you definitely want to be embarking in a career that you are super passionate about. Okay, my last and final point, something that you definitely want to consider if you're going to change and shift careers into physical therapy, is that you have to have the ability to talk to others. Now, sure, I get it. You're extroverted versus introverted, right? You're like, hey, Justin, I'm introverted. I can't really like talk to people. I feel so anxious around people, blah, blah, blah. You know what? That may be true, but you know, just do you have the skills to just talk to somebody? You know, like you go to a party or a family party and you're in the corner and you meet someone's friend, you know, like your family friend. Can you have conversation with them? If you're meeting up with friends and then someone else brings someone that you don't know, can you have a conversation with them? Just casually get to know them a little bit more. And if you can't, then, you know, maybe those are some things you definitely want to work on, because as a physical therapist, you have to know how to talk to people. That's just the bottom line, you know? So talking to people can be easy as, hey, are you currently working right now? What do you do for work, right? You always hear that, like, what do you do? What are you doing right now? I personally don't like it when people say, what are you doing right now? I'm walking, you know, I'm standing. It's like, I'd much rather have someone say, like, hey, what do you do for work? Or something like that, you know, something like that. Anyway, I digress. You can talk to someone about their work. You can talk to someone about their family, different types of recreational sports, right? Popular magazine, time stuff around the world, politics. Like, you just gotta have some sort of conversation, enough to connect with someone to be like, oh, hey, this patient is human, and the patient will say to you, wow, this doctor is human. I can relate with this guy or girl, you know? So yeah, even though if you're an introvert, you're probably an introvert, but you might have quality friends. You might have people that you can really talk to, even though it's not a bunch of people, but maybe a select few. That means that you're still great with people. So don't let the idea of introvert versus extrovert stop you from becoming a physical therapist and really impacting people's lives. Oh, I think I should make a YouTube video on that. Introvert versus extrovert. Do not let your personality stop you from impacting people's lives in physical therapy. That's a really long title, but we'll just save that for another day. Okay, you guys, so there you have it. If you're trying to change careers into becoming a physical therapist, you know, it's something that you really want to consider. You know, you want to consider the student loans, how much tuition you're really gonna get into, what's the financial obligation. You really want to think about, am I really passionate about this type of stuff? And that's why I make my videos on this channel, because I want to teach you what physical therapy, kinesiology, exercise science, what all of that is about, so that you can make an educated decision and say, you know what, yes, this is what I want to do. Or you can look at it and be like, you know what, maybe I'm not trying to drop $140,000 and hate what I really get into. So you know, if you guys have been watching my videos and you think it's super informative, please give them likes, please share them with other people. All that makes such a difference, right? So you learn all that stuff, learn about what movement is about, and lastly, you have to make sure that you enjoy talking to people, or you can at least have some conversation. So those three things I would definitely consider before you make your career shift and determine if it's worth it or not. And if you are not down for the money, the tuition, if you're not down to really be excited about human movement, and you're not really down to talk to people, then maybe physical therapy is not quite for you. And you know, maybe you should try a career change into something else. Guys, I hope this video helped inspire you to get to know the profession a little bit more, and maybe it shifted you to say, I really don't want to become a physical therapist anymore, or not. But whether it did or not, please make sure you give this video a like. Please comment below if you have any questions, and you know, I'm always here. Please hit me up for anything with the process of the physical therapy application journey. I'm here for you guys. Stay lifting, stay aloha, God bless. Have a great one, you guys.